Okay. Let me start off by saying this as by way of explanation. Maybe I've made the explanation before, but it occurred to me I could make a fuller explanation of what it is I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to accomplish in this book.
And that book is called
Brazilian Nights.
Brazilian Nights.
I think we've all had, times in our life when we've had some kind of goals you set, or someone sets a goal for you. And anyway, I started thinking about what would happen if any of us had the opportunity to go to deal with the wisest, the best people that we could ever meet on this planet. Just go around the world, and
So to follow your dream.
You follow your dream. That's put it. Yeah, just follow your dream. So the more I thought about it, I came up with the idea of having this character, whose name I found on a piece of paper floating down the streets, Valonga. I thought this would be a perfect way to just simply sort of follow her and see where she goes. So that's basically what I'm doing. So that chapter by chapter, so far we've been in Spain with her interest with the bullfight of Manuel Arruza, Machete. She goes to Brazil to study Capoeira Angola with a man named Master Juizo. And now she's in another place. So why don't I take us there?
Please. This would be chapter 3.
Okay.
All right.
No, Valonga. You must keep the fingers together. The sound must be solid, complete, okay? Now once again, let's play the rhythm together. She studied his hands as they sat opposite each other and stroked the rhythm. Bright tropical sun gleamed beyond the open door. Chickens pecked around on the front porch. His hands are more like paws than hands, like fleshy drumsticks. Now you, he said suddenly. He cast a sly smile in her direction. Senora Bá, that's caught you daydreaming again, huh? She floundered off into what she thought he had played. She sounded confused, dazed. No. That's not it, he announced quietly and sat back to wait for her to figure out what she had done wrong. He was Armando Bá, the coldest conga, bata, and Mongo player to ever immigrate to the States. Play with all of the best people and leave them in his prime to return to his home village in the hills of eastern Cuba. Cuba was Bá. Bá was Cuba. Some people saw him as a modern-day Orisha, as blasphemous as that may sound to others, a drum deity. There were nights in nightclubs across the world where Armando had appeared, sometimes with jaded white men, filled with creative juices, doing things with his hands on the conga that made people scream. Scream out loud, open, full scream. He healed with his playing. Malevolent spirits ripped from their moorings and floated downstream. Love poured from the rafters. Listening to the hard velvet touch of his hands, he was Master Bá, the soul of Afro-Cuban music in Cuba. She nudged him to wake him up to let him know that she had figured out what she had done wrong. Some things I only tell you once, Valonga, only one time. You not understand your problem, okay? They were becoming the darlings of his village. The people felt that Master Bá had been rewarded in his old age with a beautiful young African-American woman. And they liked that. They couldn't figure the drum angle out. What was she really there for? Her goal was to do 6 months of Bá. She had done her research. Bá was the master of one of the most complicated systems of music in the world, Afro-Cuban music, and she wanted to experience that. Bá understood her. He understood everything. You could tell from the way he looked at you. That was the way one who had mastered something could look at you. The lessons were intense, filled with logic and tension. No, 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 Valonga. Your ritmo cannot be casual. It must always be strong and right where it's supposed to be. You must know your place. She hated the logic of it. Why couldn't they just simply play? Just enjoy the sound of the drum. No, Valonga.
Yeah.
The drums are sacred, not to enjoy only, but to speak for the Orisha, to bring elements into play, to open doors. The drum is a very powerful instrument, very powerful. They always want to take the drum away from us. You know, everywhere we have the drum, they say, quick, take his drum, take his drum. The non-African don't know these languages. They fear it, so they forbid it. Valonga was frequently freaked out by the precision of Bá's language. There were some times when it seemed almost childlike, but precise and clean. He was self-educated, meaning that he had been one of the last members of his generation to carry water into sugarcane fields for $1 a day. See, $1 a day. Or political to the bone. He could say that with profound disgust. They had classes 4 times weekly, and each class was a serious emotional event for both of them. She had fallen in love with him at their first meeting, a serious daughterly love. Why you want the drum? Because it's an unexplored part of my psyche, and I want to know it, to map it out, know as much as I can about it. She was never fully certain that her answer was the right one, but he took her on as a student anyway. Valonga, the sound of the drum is sweet, but to learn it, it's not sweet. I'm willing to try. The village of Boca Grande watched them with acute interest, monitored the success or failure of each lesson with smiles of pleasure and or sympathetic frowns. Children stood in the open doorway of Bá's house to watch her stumble through her lessons, their dark eyes bright and serious. On those days when she successfully negotiated her way through some simple rhythm, they smiled shyly at her. At other times, she was embarrassed by not being able to count properly. I want you to count to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You understand? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. After she had struggled through the process several times, he might call to one of the children in the door. Hey, Jose, or Maria. He would tell them the name of the rhythm, and they would play it hesitantly, but they would play it. She left his home to wander through the streets of Boca Grande, dazed by the hundreds of things she had to know in order to play one simple rhythm well. The drum is very sensitive, Valonga. You can tell if you are not sure of yourself, or if you're lying about your place in the rhythm, you understand? She sprawled across her bed in the Casa Castro, sipping the local sweet rum and scribbling notes in her notebook. Master Bá is like masters everywhere. He knows what he knows as well as anyone can know it, and that makes him a master. Boca Grande was intensely hospitable to her. She literally had to stay out of sight in order to avoid invitations to come and eat, attend the baptism of a baby, be a part of the community. She was Armando Bá's student, and that gave her instant entree. You are a friend of Senor Bá. You are my friend. The village was almost a backward look at another time. Had it not been for electric lights and running water, she could easily have been into another age. The people were basically African, the Indian and European strains gently woven into the slanted eyes, the unusually straight hair of some of the people. Bá was one of the patriarchs of the village. My great-grandfather and his wife were the people who first make these plays. You understand? You understand? It was one of those days when the sun seemed hotter than usual, the humidity higher. The rest of the day had left her feeling drained and sticky, but satisfied. Not so bad as the last time, Valonga. Hey, let's have a rum and coke. Sitting on the shady porch of his comfortable house, sipping an after-lesson rum and coke. Quietly watching an ancient Cuban stroll past. He talked about life, the drum, the past, the future. Yes, Castro did a lot for Cuba. Before Castro, like the Africans in Alabama before King, we were treated like dirt. My grandfather used to tell me stories about how badly we were treated. We were close to being slaves, you dig? The man was full of twists and slips. His language, for example, would sometimes slip from NBC English up to Chicago Southside Jazz accented dialect of post-bop. She was forced to remember that Bá had lived in the States for years and played with some of the hippest musicians in the world. When did I start to play the genre? No, why? It was there. Somebody had to play it. What? She was never certain that he was putting her on. Sometimes he wasn't. I was not a drummer in the beginning. I was a dancer. She could see it. Despite the slight black beans and rice punch, he was still able to indicate with superbly subtle movements of his body how a particular rhythm should go. What happened? What happened? I was hanging out with Mongo, Carlos, this guy Peraza, Francisco, Chaco, and dudes like that. All drummers, they say to me, hey Armando, play this part. So what happened? I played. The Jesus Maria district was where it was happening in those days, in La Habana. He startled her by scooting out of his easy chair to do a few mambo steps that looked like oil sliding back and forth on water. He stopped as suddenly as he had started and slipped back into his chair, a little out of breath from the exertion. I was the best, you understand? I was the best. My favorite partner was La Lupe. Yeah, you know La Lupe, huh? Hey, La Lupe.
Loco.
La Lupe.
Loco.
Hey, Lupe. Hey, La Lupe. Hey, La Lupe.
Muy loco.
Sí. He paused for a meditative sip of his rum and coke. La Lupe was Afro-Cuban rhythm. Sometimes, when she was at her very best, people would move over to the side of the dance floor to watch us dance. In La Habana, you understand? Valonga buzzed on the rum. The humidity and atmosphere that enveloped her nodded slowly. Yes, I understand. There are people who say, yes, they say that. There are people who say that I became who I am because I had my hands washed by Iyoloshe Shango Bonne. I had my hands washed. She stared stupidly at him for a few moments, close to being drunk, before she was able to form the question. Yeah, your hands washed? Yeah, washed. He answered without affirming or denying the validity of the question. A moment later, he slid out of his chair, disappeared inside the house, and returned with a thick notebook. Here, take a look. He let her flip through several pages without comment. Pictures of men with bata drums on their thighs, pictures of events from the past, history. I cannot explain who these people are to you because they would not mean more if I explain. You understand?
Well put.
You don't know.
Well put, yes.
Yeah, you know. She nodded, understanding. The air was suddenly cool, filled with the hint of rain. Feels like rain. No. Just the magic of these pictures. These pictures represent what I was being taken into the world of the realm. You understand, Valonga? She nodded, not fully understanding if she understood or not. One thing was absolutely certain. She was being made aware of people, places, and events that she would not have ever known about. This man, Macucho, sang like chocolate. How you say chocolate? It is exactly as I'm saying, like chocolate. She fell into his food adjective understanding for the first time. La Lupe was the aroma of the Cuban cigar. She addicted many of us to the sound of my voice. Valonga stared at the photograph of a black queen with heavy buttered buns, an effervescently wide mouth, and a look in her eyes that offered any kind of satisfaction a man needed. She recalled a page of her research. Armando, was La Lupe a prostitute? La Lupe was an artist, he answered, closing off any further discussion. Ba was Cuba, Oriente, and Oriente was Ba. They were interrupted during the course of every class by someone wanting to know something that only Ba could know. We cannot find the rhythm for this event. It predates the date that we have been given. What is the event, please? It is for when a man has a child by a woman and years later decides to adopt that child. And a particular rhythm is played. Samaruco. That's the rhythm. Samaruco. He knew rhythms and messages that he had learned when he was 5 years old. Lessons 65 years old. Valonga was awed by his knowledge. But in Valonga, this is the way it is for us. I am a master of the drum. You know? Hey. Well, you think they call me Ba? It would have sounded like an arrogant statement if anyone else had made it, but coming from Armando Bá, it seemed like the proper statement to make. When I realized what a burden I had placed on myself, I felt very sick. Armando Bá, humble? It was unbelievable. Yeah, Valonga, it's true. I was very much frightened by the responsibility. The days of drumming, of trying to drum, of trying to find out what secrets the drum would reveal to her, of trying to understand the healing power of the drums, caused her many sleepless nights. She began to relate to Ba. In movies, this would be a cut back to Brazil. Nelson, Henrique, and Curio were very close to being drunk. It was difficult to identify the state of their being because they were Angoleros. They sidestepped somber motion through the streets of a neighborhood, earnestly searching for the best way to say something about how they felt. Curio, the translator, surrendered his duties to Nelson at one point, forcing him to understand English, a language he felt was reserved for old school teachers and Mongol dogs. It's such a growly language, you know? Growly. They shared a laugh. I guess English would sound like a bunch of dogs growling compared to the nasal music of Brazilian, Bahia, and Portuguese. It was getting close to midnight and the cobblestone streets were almost deserted. The clear sounds of people chanting, a bell being stroked, and drums being played floated on the humid air. That's Candomblé, isn't it? The question was clear even to the non-English speakers. They nodded. Is it far away? Curio looked at her in the eye solemnly. No, not too far. Can we go there? She asked impulsively. He translated the question and engaged in a rapid-fire dialogue with his friends. Yes, we can go there. I know people in this Tijero, but Enrique and Nelson say they cannot go. Have other things to do, getting up early tomorrow. They shook hands and exchanged kisses on both cheeks with her. Ciao, Valonga. Ciao, Enrique. Adios, Valonga. Adios, Nelson. She watched them walk away, proud young African men filled with the knowledge of Capoeira Angola that gave them an air of confidence. Come, it is this way. They strolled through the dimly lit cobblestone street, Bahia. She felt the history of the place when she said the word silently. Bahia. In Africa, transported to the New World, rich with customs, arts, emotions, Capoeira Angola de Bahia. Curio, how long have you studied with Master Juizo? 6 years. 6 years, why so long? She could read the puzzled expression on his face in the dim light shadow of the streets. Not so long. Capoeira Angola is muito complex. Yeah, it is complex. She said they felt like one of those fast food Americans who thought that anything that took longer than a year was too long. Here I am, after 2 weeks, asking this dude why he's been studying for 6 years. Master Juizo is a good teacher. Huh? Yes, Master Juizo is a very good teacher. She quickly reviewed her Master Juizo tape again. The man could have been an Amazonian Indian if his hair weren't so nappy. Short, about 5'8" or so, but loose-boned, loose-jointed. She was really surprised that he was 43 years old. She had thought he was in his late 20s. Capoeira Angola is good for me. It keeps me young. He had a clear sense of humor, sometimes made fun of his English. I speak English better every time I have to. Love for children, to come to the heart of, love beautiful women. You are lovely, Valonga, you know? But when the class started, he was merciless. Pay attention! He made them repeat simple movements over and over. Valonga, no, not like that, like this. Do the movement exactly like I show you, exactly. After 2 weeks, she had been privileged to see the master play twice. She wasn't certain of what she'd been exposed to the first time. She was more attentive the second time and even more bewildered. He seemed to take all of the simple movements he was teaching and fuse them into a complex stream of flowing motions. His jingle seemed to be the careless behavior of a drunk, but each motion, when she analyzed it, was beautifully choreographed. The drunken jingle would suddenly become an explosive attack, a tiger springing from knee-high grass. He never seemed to attack any point above the waist, that when he did attack with heel, toe, knee, side of the head, edge of the hand, or devastatingly, disarmingly smile, he was always on the target. We're almost there, up this alley. The chanting and the drumming didn't seem any louder than it had sounded from a distance, now that they were in the outer courtyard of the Tijero. The Tijero is a place where they have the religious ceremonies. And there we are at the end of chapter 3.
Wow.
And she is having, as I said at the very beginning, she's having her time to, as you say, to pursue her dream.
Yeah, I love it. Definitely. Thank you.
So it's going on.
Yes, it is. Chapter 3, Brazilian Nights by Odie Hawkins. Can be purchased at iUniverse, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or your local bookstore. Just go in and say, I want a copy of Brazilian Nights.
Give me that book!
By Odie Hawkins.
Give me that book!
Okay, it was written some time ago, and when we reissued it, we just were only able to reissue it with new covers. However,
This cover was,
typing...
this cover was The photo was taken by Zola Selena Hawkins.
This is true. Moonlight and palm trees. Brazilian nights.
And as you can see, the background and all of that is quite dark.
Yes.
The idea we had was to show a Brazil that you don't often see in popular movies and so forth. It's always brightly lit, and it has that Black Orpheus look, and people are dancing, and it's so forth and so on. But then there's another Brazil where people don't have access to electric lights, and if they do, it goes off at different times.
When was it originally written?
This first one?
Uh-huh.
It was written first in when it was first issued.
Yeah, issued.
1992, and then reissued again in 2012.
92 and 2012. Yeah. Okay, yeah. And so when you turned in your handwritten manuscript and they hired someone to type it, they typed it without any spell check or whatever. But the content is there.
There's so many
the content is there.
Yeah.
And that was Holloway House way back when. Okay. They're interested in getting it straight to the press.
Holloway House. Holloway House.
Holloway House
gave me Holloway House headaches. And it's unless you've had a headache like that, you can never describe it.
Well, in one way you were able to follow your dream, but in the process sometimes it became a nightmare.
Sometimes, that's right. You got that right.
All right. Indeed. Well, thank you very much, Odie Hawkins. We look forward to the chapter reading of Chapter 4. Your website is www.odiehawkins.com. If you like this video, please hit the like button. There you go. And please subscribe to this video. All right.
Tomorrow evening?
That's about it. Yes, tomorrow evening. Yeah. Looking forward to it.
Hopefully it'll be warmer.
Amen on that.
Yeah, we got a chilly night in Los Angeles, in Long Beach.
Yes.
But still no snow.
Fortunately.
Hey, I heard that.
All right. Ciao.
Ciao.